Yeah, mate, this one is going to be tough. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And welcome to another episode of Early Access, my series of match previews where we take a look at the next upcoming Chelsea game, talk about some stats, some tactics, try to identify any danger men we might have to look out for, and finish up with my predicted 11 who I think we should put out to win the game. So we have made it to the semi-final. I won't lie, even in the group stage, after that loss to Flamengo, I was like, there are so many massive teams in this competition. And don't get me wrong, I'm not putting down the Brazilian teams because obviously they've all done really, really well. But with the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and a Champions League winning PSG to come up against, I was starting to not be so hopeful about our chances. Now there's balance and nuance to this, isn't there? Because we have obviously gotten to the semi-final and that is brilliant. But arguably we might have had the most favourable run-up in order to get here. PSG had to play Bayern Munich to get here, which we only narrowly avoided because Munich were beaten by Benfica. So I do actually now hold some hope that we might be able to win this competition. But I am aware, like I said, of the favourable draw we've had up until this point, and we've got to beat the game in front of us in order to get there. So let's talk about Fluminense. I actually looked up how to pronounce the name because I've been saying Fluminense, but no, supposedly in Portuguese it is pronounced Fluminense, so I will continue with that. So Fluminense have actually had a really mixed bag in order to get to this semi-final, but arguably they have actually gone up against stronger competition than we have in order to get here. They just about came second in their group, managing 2 draws and a win. So compared to our performance where we managed 2 wins and a loss, we actually only just had by 1 point a better performance than they did. But so far they're actually unbeaten. So that in itself says that we are obviously not going into an easy game that we're just going to be able to walk all over. In the round of 16, they managed a shock 2-0 win against Inter Milan, which was really impressive. And they come out on top in their quarter-final match against Al Hilal 2-1 as well. They're on a run of good form, they've made it this far, they're in it to win it, and we absolutely cannot afford to shut off at all. So there's a couple of interesting statistical things to look at with Fluminense's style of play and how they've got here. They're an interesting mix of styles. They really favour slow build-up possession in general, but they also like to really compact their midfield and make them difficult to play through, and are wicked dangerous on a transition. We can probably expect to have a lot of the ball but really struggle to find our way through. And we love a low block, don't we? Another quite interesting fact about Fluminense's journey here so far, most of their goals have been scored after the 70th minute. So tactically, what we really need to do is score early in this game and try and get in front of them before that 70-minute mark, because they have consistently proven they can keep the energy and they can keep the fight and the passion and the hunger and use that in the dying embers to put goals away and win games. So like I said, there is no room for us to switch off at all. If we're 4-0 up at 70 minutes, then okay, maybe there's a little bit of room, but the chances are it's probably not going to be like that because they are going to make it really difficult to play through them. So as far as wholly recognisable players go on Fluminense's team, they have one in particular that us Chelsea fans particularly adore, and that is ex-stalwart and club cult hero Thiago Silva, who is still smashing it at 40. He is the leader in their team, he is marshalling their backline, he knows what it means to win, and the fact he's still playing at this really high tempo at this age itself is phenomenal. We all know that Thiago Silva is going to be difficult to play through. Just his years alone give him that level of experience that our team of really young players might struggle to adapt to. So it's going to be interesting. Another player they've got who might not be wholly recognisable but definitely bears talking about is their goalkeeper Fabio, who is 44 years old. Now he hasn't really spent much time playing in Europe or big teams that you might recognise, but he has been a top level keeper for a really long time. And in fact he has recently just beaten Gianluigi Buffon's all-time record of most clean sheets in a career, and he is heading towards the all-time performances record as well. So they've got good attacking players, they've got a midfield who is strong and robust, and they have got lots of experience in their back line. Our team's average age is like 23, 24 years old, maybe even younger depending on who gets into the starting 11. And Brazilian teams have consistently proven throughout this tournament that they can upset a big European team despite whatever we think about how easy the game should be or what level of footballers they have in their teams. So we need to be prepared for a really big game. They beat Inter Milan, they beat Al Hilal, teams full of really well-known, recognisable players. We lost to Flamengo, so that's already one Brazilian team that's done really well. We obviously just played against Palmeiras in our quarter-final, which is another Brazilian team who got really far through the competition, and they didn't make it easy for us. So it is no surprise to see another Brazilian team at this point. The game is definitely winnable. I do think if we put the right team out and don't take too many weird chances, then we will come out with a win. I'm just going to stop the video for a second. If you guys are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honor of liking or sharing the video, or subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. I've just hit 250 subs and I'm barely over 5 weeks. I can hardly believe it. And you guys have been amazing in getting me here so far. Ultimately, I want to make content for you, not for myself. So I welcome any criticism or advice about what you guys would like to see. So thanks so much. Hit all of those algorithmical buttons. Let's get the Sanford sync out there because this thing is starting to roll. All right, guys, sorry, I'll get back to the video now. So before I get into my predicted lineup, let's talk a little bit about who can't feature in this game. Liam Delap and Levi Colwill are both going to be excluded from the squad because they have both picked up too many yellow cards and won't be able to feature in this game. That is a blow. Even though Delap didn't exactly have his best game against Palmeiras, coming up against a team who likes to compact their midfield and play sort of a low block, a player like him could have come in really useful because he's big and he's strong and maybe would be really useful in getting through those kind of really stodgy moments of football to try and make something happen. But he is not available. Levi Colwill's another one, man. That's a bit of a stinger, isn't it? By the Esperance game, Levi Colwill has played every single minute so far, and essentially is really important to the balance of our team with being left-footed. I think Badiashile still might be out as well from his injury, so we are going to be without a left-sided centre-back for this game. Jackson didn't feature in the last game at all, despite him being available after his ban, but with Liam Delap not available, I assume we will see him on the bench at least. He still seems to be in Maresca's bad books for his recent disciplinary issues, but maybe we will see Jackson feature in this game in some capacity. Alright, so let's get into my predicted 11 for the Fluminense game tomorrow night. And we already know this bit. If you've watched any of my videos before, I always start with the goalkeeper and I'm always really upset about it because it has to be Robert Sanchez. Though I will admit I am a bit less upset than usual because truth be told, Sanchez has actually been pretty good. Maybe there's something about all the links with other goalkeepers like the Maignan stuff and obviously a little bit of talk about Trafford. But maybe knowing that we're looking for another goalkeeper has kind of unlocked something in him and he's like, no, this is my spot. There have been a few moments of classic Sanchez, but for the most part he's actually been making really clutch saves, and particularly in the game against Palmeiras he was really good. So Sanchez gets the start and I'm not as worried about it as usual because the guy's doing all right. So despite my previous worries about him, I do actually expect Malo Gusto to start in the right back spot for this game. He had a decent game against Palmeiras and for the first time ever, he made something happen. The goal was his in spirit, right? Obviously got attributed to an own goal from Weatherton, but he made it happen. He was absolutely let loose and was playing everywhere all over the field. And for a team that we can expect to be a little bit stodgy, maybe that will actually play quite well into our tactical setup. An unpredictable player like Malo Gusto roaming around wherever he wants might actually work quite well in this kind of game. Okay, so for the centre-backs, my right-sided centre-back role will go to Trevor Chalobah. If Malo Gusto is going to start on the right and find himself in the number 10 and left wing and right wing and, you know, shadow striker, then Trevor Chalobah has got experience in drifting out to play the right side of that kind of back three and play a right back-ish kind of role. And so for the left-sided centre-back role, I'm going to go with Tosin Adarabioyo. Like Chalobah, Tosin has got a reasonable amount of time playing in this tournament. He's fit, he's ready, he's actually scored us a goal, although nearly gave one away 60 seconds after. But in general, he's been playing really well, and a bit of experience in our back line is probably exactly what we need, bearing in mind the experience that they have in theirs with a 40-year-old Thiago Silva and a 44-year-old keeper in Fabio. So yeah, left-sided centre-back, Tosin gets it for me. And what that really means is when they drop to a back three, he's actually the one that will be playing in the middle of it. And for the left-back spot, it's Marc Cucurella. It's always Marc Cucurella because he is awesome. He just plays great every single game. I can't remember the last time I watched Marc Cucurella in a game and feel like he didn't give his all or wasn't a really good part of anything that was going on. He's just a wicked player and he's getting better every single game. He can dive into midfield, he can hug the left side and create width, and he can also play as that kind of left-sided centre-back role as well. He's so versatile, so good. He's got so much energy, aggression, doggedness, passion and power for such a little guy. Marc Cucurella gets the spot. Okay, so double pivot in midfield. Because I assume Malo Gusto is probably going to play on the right-hand side, I actually am going to give this spot to Reece James. Normally when I do my predicted 11s in these games, I kind of do my fantasy lineup, right? Where I'm like, I really want to see these guys play. But today I am really going to try and predict what I actually think will happen, even if it's not something I'd really like to see. So Reece James actually got an injury in the warm-up to the Palmeiras game, so didn't feature and was replaced by a very capable Andre Santos, who had a great perfect game. But supposedly Reece James was given a complete clean bill of health, and it's almost like, how do we get him on the pitch but play kind of precautiously with him, and putting him in that midfield spot makes sense to me, because he won't be running back and forth from the right back spot, inverting or trying to get up or whatever. He'll kind of play in one position and try and dictate the tempo of the game. So yeah, for me, although it's not exactly what I'd like to see, because I actually always prefer seeing Reece James in that defence spot, I think it does make sense to play him in midfield in this game. And of course, seeing that he's back now after his one-match suspension, he will be partnered by Moises Caicedo. That will be a breath of fresh air to have him back on the pitch, right? And with the likes of Reece James potentially sitting next to him in the midfield, that will give Moises Caicedo license to do more than just screen the back line, because he can push forward, he can create chances, he can get involved in the attacking play, and he's got the energy and the stamina to run back and make a clutch tackle or dispossession or block if needs be. So he starts every game when available, and that is no different here. Moises Caicedo in the other midfield spot for me. Okay, so that takes us to our kind of attacking three. So I do think we'll probably end up going with Enzo Fernandez in that attacking midfield spot. Personally, I don't think it's where he plays his best football, and if we had everyone available to us, maybe this wouldn't be the case. But we don't, so there's a little bit of jiggery pokery we've got to do to kind of get our best players onto the pitch. And to say that Fluminense really like to pack their midfield and make things difficult, I think the counter to that is to also have lots of midfielders on. And with Enzo Fernandez playing in that centre attacking midfield spot, we will then be looking at a midfield packed with Malo Gusto, Reece James, Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, which might give us the edge we need to cut through their normally quite compact and stodgy midfield. So although I do prefer seeing him in a deeper role, usually I can understand tactically why we opt for more midfielders in this game rather than more regular attacking midfielders. So on the left, I'm actually going to say Cole Palmer, which hurts a little bit because he played so well in that last game from that centre role where he can drift right and he can drift left. But with Cucurella on the left and maybe occasionally able to provide some width, depending on where Malo Gusto is at the time, Cole Palmer had a good game against Benfica in this spot. And if he's feeling really, really good about his last game, maybe he can do even more from there than he did last time. It's not my ideal place to see him play, but again, I'm trying to be objective and it kind of makes sense. Cole Palmer can unlock teams from anywhere on his best day. So putting him out on the left isn't exactly a huge risk. And on the right hand side, it's obviously going to go back to Pedro Neto. Understandably, Pedro Neto didn't have his best game against Palmeiras, but the fact he was out there in the first place means he's got buckets of character, and I was really pleased to see him because no one would have blamed him for taking that game off based on what he'd just been through. But at the end of the day, he's our top scorer in the tournament, he's in form, he's generally playing well, and it just makes sense to have him out on that right hand side. And that leaves us with the number 9, and I am going to give it to João Pedro. And although he had a decent showing against Palmeiras in his little cameo last time, it isn't necessarily based on how well I've seen him play with us. It's more to do with the fact that Nicolas Jackson didn't even make the bench for the last game. And when Liam Delap was having an absolute stinker, Maresca opted to put João Pedro on, who'd literally been with us for 3 days and barely had chance to properly train with the team. So Maresca obviously rates João Pedro. You can see why, even though he didn't score, he did have a lot more joy making things happen and getting through that quite stodgy defensive line that Palmeiras presented us with. And also, he can drift out to the left and in deep, which might give Cole Palmer more opportunity to be able to drift and change rather than just be locked into that left side like he did against Benfica. So I guess that kind of makes this a little bit of an experimental lineup in that respect. But being that there's been quite a lot of rumours about Nicolas Jackson on his way out and he didn't even feature in the last game despite being available, it feels like a reasonably safe bet to assume Maresca is going to go with João Pedro because he likes the qualities he brings to the team. So that's it. That is my predicted lineup for the Fluminense game tomorrow night. Or tonight if you happen to be watching this video the morning after I release it. I'm a bit tentative with doing predictions against these Brazilian teams because it can just go in so many different ways. I am going to say we come out with a 2-1. Fluminense are able to get a dangerous late goal, and it would be silly not to expect them to do so against us. It's going to be really important for us to try and lock away this game in that first 70 minutes before they come alive. So nice one, guys. I'd love to know what you think as well. Have I been too conservative in my predicted 11? What are your predicted 11s? Bang them in the comments and I will pin what I think is the best one. We are one game away from a final and it feels very achievable for us to get there. The final itself, well, we'll talk about that if we make it. Nice one, guys. I hope you're having a wicked day. I'll keep my ear to the ground as ever for more Chelsea news and bring it to you as soon as I can. Take it easy. Peace.